everyone, and welcome back to another Age of Empires 4 commentary. I am Beyond, and today we have the first 2v2 casted game of the new expansion. Today we have Jigglypuff in the lime green playing as Joan of Arc. Across the way, his partner in crime will be Deeble's Zoomies playing as Japan. Their opponents for today in the blue playing as the Ayubids is Hung ADC. And then across for his partner, it will be Black Cat playing in the yellow as Zushi's Legacy. Now we have two pretty busted civs in this game at the current moment. Joan of Arc, she is so good early game. And oh no, we're going to lose an early scout. Oh, we do that so many sheep. That's absolutely brutal and not at all how Zushi's Legacy wants to start in the slightest. It's so important to get those early sheep back for all of that taxation, so it's going to be brutal. But as I was saying, Joan of Arc is pretty busted at the current moment. I mean, it's pretty obnoxious to play against something that it's very hard to deny XP. As you can see, they're just mining away. It's hard to deny XP, and then on top of that, she just has so many good abilities like the heal or like the wrath ability, which just takes down spears. And then as she starts to get upgraded, it gets even worse for wear. I've seen some successes against it if you wait until castle and later game, so maybe that might be the play. But I'm assuming in 2v2 it's going to be so hard to stop all those knights harassing you constantly. Now, I did say we have two busted civs in here. I mean, Zushi's Legacy is nothing to sniff at the current moment. They are so good as well, and everyone's just getting a feel for the new civs. And honestly, people are starting to, especially the pros, are starting to dabble with the old civs into these new matchups to see what might come out on top. I've heard many people kind of theorize that a good counter into Joan of Arc might be the Ottomans because of how many early units you get for free. But then again, at the current moment with that Wrath spell, you better be very careful with your Spearmen. Now, the Ayubids, I've not heard the best of news for them, you know. I've heard they're kind of just like a weaker version of the Abbasid. Of course, I know they're a variant civ, so it's not really like, I'm not saying that they're pretty much saying they are essentially a different civilization, which is why people are thinking that they're a little bit slightly weaker at the current moment. And then across the way, Japan, a very strong civ. Now, don't get me wrong, I think these two are more of the quote-unquote maybe a little bit OP, but I don't think Japan is that far behind at the current moment. And with these upgrades to their town center, it does make it super interesting. These daimyos get pretty crazy, but if you can stop Japan early on, you do have a chance, unless they decide to go for an early rush with, you know, samurais and whatnot. So, you know, it's really a toss-up, but I feel like these new civs just have a little bit of everything at the current moment, and it's making it kind of tough to keep up, but it's also fascinating to watch. Guys, if you've made this far into the game and you have been enjoying, please do consider hitting that like button. You can subscribe if you're so inclined, but the biggest thing that helps me out is leaving a like or leaving a comment. Let me know which one of the new 6 civs do you think is the strongest. Let me know in the comments below. If you see it already in the comments below, you know, thumbs it up and then put another comment as well. You know, because the more comments, the better. The more likes, the better. The more people see my videos, and the longer I can keep doing this, because it's an absolute blast to do. We do see the meditation gardens coming in for Black Cat. This is the passive landmark. Starts producing all sorts of resources. You can see 24, 2, 15, and 15. Not too bad for doing absolutely nothing besides just standing there. For the Ayubids, we have the econ wing. Wow. You know what? I actually have an entire reel about this, a little short and everything about this. It's a little bulb, so it's eco wing. So we're going to be going for definitely a few expansions. We already start to see the stone being collected. Across the way, we can see the chorus storehouses, which are going to pop up a little farm all around these, and then start to produce wood once you have the full farm set up. And then across the way, we have the School of Cavalry, an absolute classic. Pretty much every French player knows. I will say, Joan of Arc is definitely interchangeable with the French at the current moment, because the French have their own upgrades. Like, remember, like the workers are not quite the same. The normal French have a much faster villager rate production. So there's going to be some times where both civilizations might be picked in certain ways. I will say at the current moment, because of how good Joan is. Joan of Arc Civ might be picked slightly more, but it's definitely going to be very situational, so you never know. We can see that now she has transformed into the hunter, so she's going to look for boar and deer and wolves. If you are against Joan of Arc, make sure you try to take those out as quickly as possible to not let her level up, because once she gets to 3 stars, she becomes very, very good when she's on that cavalry. Now we have just tons and tons of scouts rolling all around. We can see a second town center going up for our Japanese player. And we also have a second TC going up for the Ayubids. Pretty standard so far. We have a quick castle age coming in for Zushi's Legacy under 6 minutes, and it's already being produced. That's absolutely nuts, and also pretty standard for how good this civilization is, and that's also one of the reasons why it is so good. Jiggly's trying to get a little bit of harass going down with this knight, but to no avail, is quickly thwarted by this town center, which can fire an additional cannonball because essentially they are the Chinese, but they have Zushi's Legacy, so they still have some of those same perks that the Chinese traditionally have in AoE. And we always talk about them when we're fighting. We can see Joan taking on a boar by herself. I feel like she shouldn't be able to do this early on, but who am I to say anything? She is just absolute, and that's plus 50 real quick. You can see that's going to go very, very quickly. And now we can see Jiggly is roaming, trying to find some harass down on these poor villagers. Will get a charge in. No, it does not actually. And a Shaolin monk is the first thing to meet this knight. Quickly decides to change his mind and go, you know what? The French knights are still probably the best thing in the entire game, so I don't think I can just 1v1 one with, a staff. But it was close. It wasn't that bad. And this is actually where you can see how important it is, why that sheep dying early on was so important. Look at all those idle villagers, and now they have to move on to distract retreat just for something at this point. It is a little bit dangerous to get for these berries over here, but luckily for him is getting 38 resources per minute from this kind of passive building. Alright, we'll just keep moving on. The Ayubids are just kind of doing the classic, kind of like what an Abbasid player would do. We can see that the archer rangers are coming in. They have those desert riders, which are so nice. We also have another archer range coming in, so it might just be constant harass. We can see that the knights are trying to actually take down the meditation gardens with their torches, just throwing them, just doing a little bit of damage. Knows full well he can't do much if the Zushi player wants to keep their villagers this close underneath the TC. Not much really can do, but is an absolute win for keeping them off these berries, keeping them off these trees over here, and keeping them off this gold. So it is going to start to cause some problems quite soon, and I wouldn't be surprised if some villagers start to take the risk and the plunge over yonder. Jeanne is making her way across. You can see a wolf over here. That's, I think, what her next target is. We have plenty of deer as well, so should be quite interesting. Honestly, the roost might be decent into Jeanne, but you never know. Have to wait and see who can kind of figure out what's busted, what's not busted, what's broken, what's not broken. And then also, normal civs might be very good into some of these. We just haven't seen it too yet. Everyone's so excited they're playing all the new civs, but I'm sure some Mongols, some English into some of these newer civilizations might be just as good. We can see starting to do a little bit of farm transition quickly, cutting down. We can also see a hardened spearman claiming a scout, another sheep for the good. Devils is doing pretty well, or Devils. I think it's Devils. Apologies for that. I always kind of mix it up. I'm not gonna lie to you, and I am so sorry. I join Jiggly's stream all the time. If you do enjoy it, I would also highly recommend checking out Jiggly's stream. His link will be in the description below for all team game content on Twitch. Now, this meditation garden has looked better. Has definitely looked better in the past. My goodness, already starting to crumble down. You gotta love the graphics of AoE4 though. Just so nice to kind of wait and see. And let's see what's going on down over here. Looks like we have the Desert Riders, and they're causing some damage. They're trying to get some poke damage going on. But the Japanese player does have just enough to thwart any sort of aggression. And it looks like Joan is now joining the ranks as well, and the entire medication gardens is just going to be going down because of how many knights are inbound at the current moment. Shaolin monks are starting to take relics, and they're bringing them back over here to the Shaolin Monastery, but that won't matter because all this passive income is going to be going away. We do see if Jiggly was able to move over here, that could be very advantageous. A Desert Rider does go down to these archers and this one spearman, but it looks like it will escape with its life just in time. But the second it goes into range of anything, it's going to be quickly killed off. And there you go. Hung is also in Castle, as you can see, going for Culture Wing. So essentially playing the don't bother me for 20 minutes game and I'll show up with an army eventually type of vibe. Unfortunately for them though, that's exactly what the Japanese player is doing as well. Zoomies is taking the same approach, going, I don't really need to make too much. I think Jiggly's got it just fine. And then we have Jiggly, who has 11 knights roaming the battlefield, taking down things left and right. And this meditation gardens is actually quite huge. It's a ton of resources to repair it, and a ton that are just going to be completely gone and done and dusted. This is the first time we've kind of seen this change come down, but remember, in the new season, there is only 7 slots in this kind of these proxy expansion bases. Your second TC only has 7 slots, and this is starting to really cause a lot of problems. Jiggly is finding a ton of villagers as well, and that is super nice. You can see this town center is incredibly squishy, and here comes the tower is going to be found by Jiggly, and that's going to be really bad news. Bears quickly deletes it, so running absolutely rampant with his patented French. Where is Jeanne at? There she is. She is now shooting Shaolin monks, and they're doing pretty well. The divine shot was the one that did the most damage, and now we have more. Oh my god, it's an absolute barbecue. We can even zoom in on here. The Wallow going in just to almost signify, I'm so sorry, I have sinned. Moving on quite quickly. Even Jones getting into the business. She's starting to die at the TC. We have a ton of Japanese archers underneath this TC, but does have 3 relics, so is not doing the worst in that category, but more and more people are going down, and they're taking down things left and right. Here are the reinforcements from the Ayubids players, so that finally they're getting involved, getting a little bit, and they kind of show what they're all about. We have a lot of crossbowmen here, but only a little bit of a front line. For some reason, they decided to take down the archers instead of everyone else, but I guess that's just one of the ones that are attacking this landmark, and there we go. They're going to be able to thwart this, but at this point though, the Japanese player is feeling very good and very safe. Floating gate is now going up for the Japanese player, and they're going to be sitting in a very good spot. They will be the last one to Castle Age. We can see that Jiggly went Castle Age as well with Royal Institute. Oh, just a little wall, just to say like, hey, got even more of these relics. So keep it on coming, keep on bringing me down. I will continue to steal all of these relics. Some villagers are taking over here. Sorry about that, need a sip of water. Villagers taking down over here. They're taking the long way around. There we go. Sorry, I actually need to fully, do an actual cough, and I didn't want to do it, but then I finally just sent it, and there we go. We do have Castle Age Knights coming in. These look pretty menacing. Joan is not upgraded yet. We can check out on Joan over here. 100 and some change away. We do have the Bannermans coming in to kind of make this force complete. We can see now Jiggly's moving out, but this is a kind of a menacing force into what Jiggly has. If these were to run in at all, that's unfortunate. And hopefully the Shaolin Monk is going to be taken down. For the price, though, of a few knights, which is probably not what Jiggly wants to see at this point, we do see some relics going down. And they're trying to do the most damage they possibly can. We see that this tower is finally going to be going up, but these archers are doing so much damage, and they're causing so much annoyance. And it looks like we do not have Imperial Age yet coming in, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it quite soon. This this Ayubid player has been left alone for quite some time. Knights are now in the back, and unfortunate timing for these villagers. They're going to be absolutely crisped, and there they go. I was going to say turn and fight. Look at them go, but even more damage being done. This knight numbers will be slimmed a little bit, but not nearly enough. And we can see that Japan is also starting to send over some people as well. But that's a lot of relics that are currently taken. They already have 4 on the map. So while they did a lot of damage, they are not in the worst spot as you might imagine. This one wolf getting revenge for Joan on Joan of Arc's villagers, saying, you know what, you took all of my friends and family. It's time for me to take one of you as well. Now we're moving on to the military units, which won't be able to kill off at all, but does get one back, you know, just for a little bit of pride at that point, which I will say, it does seem like Jiggly and Zoomies are going to be able to kind of finish this one off quite soon, but I'm not going to lie to you, this Iabits player is looking really, really scary. Multiple armies roaming around, and they have so much infrastructure back here. So feeling pretty good about this if you are the Iabits player, and they're really starting to be able to thwart both armies at both points. Look at that, they're taking on Japan and Joan all at once. There's a lot of knights over here though, and they're constantly healing. 15 knights. And for some reason, the Zushi player decides to just send it for the lads and sends in 2 of their units for absolutely no reason. Maybe just a little bit of a misplay on that front. But trying to get more and more, you can see they're starting to protect these relics as well, making sure that everything's a-okay. A town center is going to go up in the back end here, trying to build a little bit of safety around all of these farms. You can see that Joan is now finally upgraded. She has, Jeanne's riders have arrived, and now we have a very menacing cavalry ball over here. These granaries are not protected in the slice, and they will be the target at the current moment. We also have a full-on engage with Ghulams. Yeah, they're Ghulams. And oh, here we go. They're going to be diving this TC, which is going to be devastating for this player. You can see they're just, everyone's running for the hills. Unfortunately, these armies are not so mobile, and without walls anywhere, we are on dry Arabia. It's going to be really, really tough to deal with, and these constant raids just make this so good. Don't think this was more of a Joan of Arc thing. Think this was just a France thing. That is an absolute, that's done and dusted. That was quickly, that's game, right? I mean, I was trying to hype it up before, but that was brutal. Unless we get a collapse here and these knights go down. That is a way in. I could have jinxed it. There we go. There's a little bit of collapse. A lot of crossbowmen over here taking pot shots at this entire army, but they aren't able to kill off nearly enough as you would like to see. We have now knights moving back over here, trying to take on this. We do have 7 relics. 6 relics taken over here. Another TC's going down. So if this Zushi player can just get a little bit of breathing room, they will be okay, honestly. They will be able to get back into this, but unfortunately their ally has a very immobile army, but is able to take on from multiple fronts, but unfortunately they decide to take on this one knight over here instead of taking on the entire Japanese army, which is going to be slowly pushing everyone back as they get more and more of these horse archers with the samurai for front line. We have a little bit of everything, and it's just multiple attacks on multiple fronts. The Ghulams are trying to cut through the samurai. The katanas are appearing to be too invaluable in this front. They actually do make it through the entire front line, which is crazy. There's a lot of crossbowmen on the backhand side over here. We have crossbowmen over here trying to deal damage to these knights, but now they have no front line. They're going to get surrounded, which is the worst case scenario for crossbowmen. They do actually trickle out the backhand side, which is very nice on them. And look at Zushi's is trying to get back into this with some spears, but it's not going to be nearly enough. I think the damage has been done, the bleeding has begun, and there's nowhere for these villagers to run and hide. They do have 3 TCs. They're trying their absolute best. You can see the Iabits players like, okay, I'll roll back. I got you. Don't worry. Just survive as best as you possibly can. And we've all been there in a 2v2, and you're trying your absolute best, but if you get any resources, the French players constantly dives you. It is brutal. Death by 1,000 cuts at this point. But you know what? It's an absolute, I mean, it's just so hard to stop, especially on dry Arabia. There's no protections built in. It's incredibly hard to wall off. And to make these longer walls, you'd have to have a crazy investment. And the investment would probably not be in time, as you'd probably have to deal with the knights coming your way so soon. And with those three down, that's a huge knock to this economy. That's a lot of what was happening. And now the Japanese are sensing blood in the water. And the villagers are taking a bold approach of just sacrificing themselves, going, you know what? I don't need this anymore. I'm getting gold no matter what is happening in front of me. We need it to survive, so we must go forth. This Ibid's army, though, is looking scary. And if Jiggly wasn't able to do that much damage to this Zushi player, I think this would be a very, very different tale with dealing with that crazy amount of crossbowmen. You can see that now they're peeling back, trying to split their armies as best as they possibly can. Jiggly's taking down this middle TC, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a quick GG out of Black Cats coming in here. Nothing that can really be done at this point, and with all those villagers going down, it's an absolute feeding frenzy for sharks on top of all of these villagers. 3 of them do survive as they appear out of absolute nowhere, and there is the GG's. It is called well played, and that's exactly how you harass as Jeanne / the French. An absolute clinic there by Jiggly and Zoomies. Guys, if you did enjoy, please do like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me, and I hope you guys have a great night.